Good.
How you guys doing?
We are well. We are in the middle of a game of Chocolate Factory by Alley Cat Games. So Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Game, welcome to the show. What have you been up to lately? And tell the folks at home a little bit about you, your channel, and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. So so I'm Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Games. I started a YouTube channel about a year ago, but I've been a gamer since the early '80s. In fact, Carlos and I just discovered that we started out with Stratomatic and some of those baseball simulation games, but definitely continued to morph over time. And as you can tell, fully involved in the hobby like you guys.
Yeah, I've seen your game collection when I watch your videos and your video podcasts as the way you do them, and I'm like, oh, I got that. Ooh, I got that. And I think I sent you a message like I really agree with your game selection. So we seem to have a lot of the same taste in games.
It's pretty common that you when you're watching YouTube of somebody that you see their game collection, you pause, you zoom in, you go, okay, what games do they have? Where am I going to judge? Where am I going to go? Oh, I really wish I had that game. You know, they always put that.
What I'm doing right now with you guys too. I'm like, well, that wasn't there last week. Or,
yeah, something got moved around. Something got played.
You always have the Battlestar Galactica right in front, so you can show off that you have a copy.
I only borrowed that for a little bit too. It was a buddy of mine who needed me to pick it up, and I'm like, oh, this would look great, like centered up right in the center of the shelf.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, love it. So. Good. No, it's been busy few weeks. Conventions are back. Went to largest one in Colorado at the end of February, and then day after that was done, boogied out to Vegas to go to the Dice Tower West convention, and that was absolutely a blast. And it's good to see people that you interact with online and everything, but live and in person. A lot of content creators there. Pretty much all the Dice Tower crew. And just a great 5-6 days of just pure gaming and a lot of stuff. I mean, you can't do it all. It was an absolute blast.
What are the highlights between the two cons? So you had the local biggest one in Colorado. How does that compare to the Dice Tower West? And then what's sort of the highlight of your Dice Tower West?
And let me remind the folks at home, phone lines open, 813-618-7099 is the number to call in. Talk to us about what you've been doing as well while we talk to Frenchy.
So the one in Colorado was called Genghis Khan, and actually I moved out to Colorado a little over 2 years ago, and so it was the last convention I went to before obviously all the lockdowns and everything, and so they have it in Aurora, which is adjacent to Denver, and about I'd say 400 or 500 people, so not a large con, but a very active con. It's been going around for quite a while. Heavy on role-playing games, a lot of role-playing games there. You're playing Pathfinder and D&D.
Oh, Frenchy, we got a call coming in. Let's see who it is.
Go right ahead.
Let's see. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from? Oh, hang on. I'm working on some buttons here. Let's try that again. Who's this?
This is Mitchell from Louisiana. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Hello, Mitchell from Louisiana. Long time no see, friend.
Yeah, it's been a couple days, right?
It's been a long time. Tell the folks at home what you've been up to.
Sunday we finished Southern Board Game Festival in Lafayette, Louisiana, and some familiar faces were there. Carlos, Rob, and Dan came down to Louisiana. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad they came by.
You'll appreciate here our canned, because we do have libations on the show, folks. Hide your children. The cup is a Board Game Gumbo koozie given to me by BJ of Board Game Gumbo at the Southern Board Game Fest. So I'm still celebrating from that trip. And Mitch, you might be able to see this on camera here. In this little refrigerator behind me, I got some of the Juicifer Louisiana IPA in here, all stocked and ready.
Man, you really like that, huh? I remember for those that don't know, we had this board game con, and literally Cata Corner was a festival going on. And so between games, we would walk over there for food and stuff. And Carlos kind of just picked a random local drink, and apparently you really liked that one, huh? Picked up some more New Orleans on the way home.
I did. I didn't want to leave it behind. I picked up. Oh geez, I ate too much. There was too much food in Louisiana.
Well, hey, I'm not trying to ignore Frenchy over there. Frenchy, I don't know if you remember me, but we did meet at the Dice Tower retreat. We played Captain Sonar together with Chris Yee and Bonacore. I know that was a big crew, but good to see you on the show, man. What's up?
Good, man. How you doing, Mitchell? Yeah, no, it's been busy, with trying to get gaming in. We all have jobs outside of that, so just trying to wrap everything around and maximize our gaming time. But yeah, that was a good game with Bonacor and Chrissy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was fun. We did get in a game of Captain Stoner at the con. Carlos was not a part of it. I think they were in the middle of a 2-day game of Ark Nova at the time. But yeah, I've been trying to get a full 8-player game of that in since Dice Tower Retreat, and I've never been able to get more than 6. So I don't think, except for at a con, I'm ever going to get a full 8 players. So I couldn't let the opportunity pass me by. And a couple of people that played with me said it was their highlight of the con. BJ, for example, from Board Game Gumbo, I said that was his most memorable moment. So I'm excited about that.
I played
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I played Captain Sonar once at a con. It was an amazing experience. I immediately went out, bought the game, bought all the expansions.
And never played it.
And the copy is still sitting on my shelf because you can't. It's hard to get that 6 to 8 players in. Even if you do a game day, people want to do other things. And God, this is the game.
That's what the con's for. Is you get enough. There's enough of a sample size that you can find those 5 to or 8 weirdos that'll join you.
So also, another thing I think I've realized, so whenever I play with my game group, first of all, it's not a full 8, so people are having to double up. That's already more stressful. But also, we know each other really well, and so it can get a little nasty, like, you didn't say South that time. And so when you're at a con, I think you're a little bit, more forgiving. If it's people you don't know as well, you're more willing to assume it was you that made the mistake and not their caller or something like that. So, there's that part of it.
So how many folks were at the Southern Board Game Fest this past
So we
week?
sold about 300 badges. Half of those were from pre-COVID. So we think some of those may have forgotten because it didn't feel like it was quite 300. I didn't get an exact count of how many people showed up. But yeah, 300 badges sold, which was what the limit was going to be set by the university for the room that we were in. And it was a good bit of fun. I enjoyed it. This is my local con. It's a lot smaller. This year we kind of downsized a little bit in terms of our programming because for 2 years we planned it and it got canceled, got canceled. And the guy who's in charge was kind of just like, look, let's just have a con, So we had some guided playthroughs. We had some unpublished games. There was one tournament and some, not a full-on flea market, but a few games for sale and some friendly local gaming stores. And it was fun. It's to benefit a local nonprofit that helps disadvantaged youth with like after-school tutoring and things like that, and just programming for them to keep them off the street. So that was nice. And
Awesome.
it's a completely different side of things whenever you're kind of on the planning end of the con, because although I did get a good bit of gaming in, a lot of my time was also spent kind of just doing administrative things.
We saw you with your binder. Well. He wanted to look professional. He had a little binder walking around.
He had his theater.
He kind of looked like
stage managing hat on.
He looked like Bilbo Baggins. On this. I'm on my way to adventure.
But between like you were saying and like Frenchy was saying, 500, 300, like those cons are the perfect size for just gaming. Like I think I've talked before. I go to Dragon Con. It's 80,000 people. I don't do much gaming at that con. That's a cosplay and party and events and seeing authors, and I like those smaller local cons for just this is my weekend of gaming. I like that's what's good.
No, it was totally worth the trip, and Robert's gonna be back next week, so that's gonna be our Leo Zone Rum Bon Bonte. Mitch, you want to translate that? There we go. Let the Good Times Roll episode is going to be next week, where Robert and I will update y'all folks at home with all of what we did. We'll walk through the whole weekend of us going to New Orleans Thursday night, walking Bourbon Street on St. Patty's Day, all that fun stuff.
You got to tell some of those stories from Thursday night, man. That was kind of crazy.
And Mitch is walking around in flip-flops everywhere.
I would not walk in flip-flops on purpose.
Save that for next week, right? We'll do that one next week. But that I will say that con, I had not just because we had friends there of folks that we do stuff with, but the people in Louisiana, you people of Louisiana are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. I think it was weird when my wife and I meet up at the hotel room at, 1 in the morning after the con, and I'm done with the con that evening. And one of the first things we want to tell each other about was the people that talk about how nice they were. Right?
This is true. Y'all did tell me about that the next morning.
It blew my mind how nice the people are. Even the servers at Taco Bell were like some of the most pleasant people I've ever spoken to. So shout outs to Louisiana. Much love to all you in New Orleans with the tornadoes for recovery and safety. But thanks for being an awesome host, Mitch.
Thanks. Yeah, I wish I could have done more. I live about 45 minutes away from the con, so Rob stayed at my place. I know you guys got a hotel a little bit closer, but yeah, it was great having you guys down. And you guys left, and I started thinking like, I gotta see these guys again. So like, I went and I bought my badge for Dice Tower East. So if not before then, I'll see you guys in July.
Pre-show, we were trying to convince Frenchy to do it.
Oh, come on,
Yeah.
I'm planning on it.
Where do you live, Frenchy?
Yep.
Is it in Colorado? That's your.
Yep, I'm out in Colorado, correct.
Gotcha. So it's a little ways away. Wayne, what about you? Are you going to Dice Tower East?
I no, that's it. Middle of July is a messy time. We're not allowed off of work there in July, so.
I got a solution for you. Just quit.
The great resignation.
You can call in well. Everyone calls in sick. Just call in
That's what
well.
I'm telling.
I want to.
Anytime I'm
to work with.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about it.
Anytime I'm having a game night. I'm sorry. There's a delay. We keep talking over each other. Go ahead, Wayne.
That's okay. I was gonna say I wish they would sell like weekend only badges or something like that because I could sneak out. But I might buy one for the full 4 days, knowing that I probably won't be out there till Friday afternoon or something like that. But or depending on the
a little
days of
bit better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Worst case, I come out and just meet up for some dinner one night with everybody.
Yeah.
Sure. In the 5 minutes that are allocated to scarf food in our faces so we get back to gaming.
Dice Tower East. So you'll be there, Mitch?
Yes, I will be there. I'm figuring out lodging. And yeah, we'll talk about that in the
Listen, Bobby, mira. Cógelo con take it easy. We have a villa, Robert and I. We have some older kids now, Robert and I. So some of them aren't going to be there. So if you don't mind crashing on a couch or a corner or a knapsack, you don't have to spend any extra money. We got you. We'll figure it out.
Air mattress.
You just got to learn to deal with the crying baby in the middle of the night because I can't stop that. But if that's okay and it saves you money, we got you.
I appreciate that. I might take you up on that. We'll talk more about it off the show.
See, but I cook. When we go with the villa, I cook.
Yeah.
Right? I don't go to Dice Tower. Rob gets upset. He wants to just eat his granola bars and play more games. More games.
Oh, I got to tell that story. So Rob was at my house early in the morning. We're about to head to the con. I was like, you guys want to get any snacks for the road? And I opened up the cabinet. And he's like, granola bars. It was like, that kind of thing. He just grabbed some of those and shoved them in his pocket.
He eats like a toddler. He eats like a toddler on his way to school. He has like granola bars. What are the juice boxes? The juicy juice, juicy juice, and some like orange wedges, and he's fine.
Yeah.
I appreciate the offer, and we'll talk about it more. And I'm gonna let you guys go. I've been on the phone here for 10 minutes now. I know we got other callers calling in.
Well, hey, if you're open next week, Thursday, if you're open, we should have you as the guest for the La Zone Bon Ton Long Roulette episode.
I will see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. I'll try to be available.
All right, Bobby. Have a good night.
Okay. Later.
I always let Mitchell go a little long. I love the guy. I know that it takes up like the first 10, but it's the first 10 minutes of the show. Ain't nobody calling on the first 10 minutes of the show. Phone lines open. 813-618-7099 is the number. We were talking with Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Game. They can find you on YouTube and the Instagram. Am I right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Frenchy does a lot of videos where he does more of a podcast style video, which I enjoy because I love these types of shows. I do shows that I like to consume. I like to consume shows about people talking about what they got going on in their lives and what games they're playing because I like to do that. I like to talk about stuff. But Frenchy also does some reviews. Not heavy on the review content, though.
No, that's been kind of getting replaced with that podcast format because it just seems to work. I'll put it on a podcast and then also do the video portion and throw that up on YouTube. And yeah, glad it's resonating. And you just continue to tinker with what you do until you hit a stride and you find what resonates with people. And
then you also have gotten into recently some of that top 10 space.
Yeah, how's that going? Work. I did a top 10 of I can't remember. It was about 10 episodes ago, and so I did a top 10, kind of like the Letterman top 10.
Yep.
And I had done that in college. We were joking around one time, and back in the day before there were cell phones, there were actually phones that you had a wire to the wall. So, but if you couldn't get a hold of somebody, we'd write on whiteboards, or we just draw on a Sharpie and we write on the dormitory door without the whiteboard. And so we were horsing around, and then we wrote some comments on one person's door, and then I said, "Hey, that sounds like a top 10 list from Letterman." So we started just going ahead and just doing that, and then the next day I printed it out and posted it. And they said that was kind of funny. And so I did another one. So for about 3 semesters, I was doing a top 10 list that people were coming all across campus for. Totally forgot about it. It's been a couple of years since I went to college. We won't say how long. And then in coming up with figuring out a podcast, I said, let me just do some humorous Letterman style top 10 lists to, try to have a little bit of levity and everything like that as well. So that's kind of the genesis of all that.
Nice. That sounds cool.
I struggle with ranking. Like, if you ask me what my top 10 games are today, I'll give you that list. I'll find a way. I'll give you 10. You ask me 2 days from now, you will probably get 60% of that list still there, and then 40% came out of nowhere. Like I just that is a brain function of being able to rank and rack and stack and organize in that way. My brain just doesn't work that way. I don't want to commit to it. Like, I'd like to do a top 10, but then I feel like I'm committed. Like, this is my top 10. You see, Frenchy, have you seen, like, with Tom Vassell when he does his top 100, how many people will just beat up and tear apart the changes to those top 10?
Yeah.
Why'd that go down 2 notches? And I don't want that life. I don't want to commit to that. How are you getting over that?
I kind of like it. And again, we were talking before, I'm a restaurant consultant. I've been in the restaurant industry. I kind of like it as, okay, today I like coffee ice cream. And then, next week I'm liking Rocky Road, I mean, it doesn't say that I don't like coffee ice cream anymore, but what are you in the mood for, and it ebbs and flows. And that's kind of how I come about it.
And that's what I don't get about the people who go like, that game went from 10 to 25. That's a horrible game. How did that game go down so much? 10 to 25 in the top 100 of all time, and the guy who's played 7,000 games or more. Even I'm not.
The fact that it's on the top 100.
Yeah, like just that it's in the top 200. Like I'll play his top 300. Because
they're all probably going to be really good games.
Yeah, I don't.
With the exception of Gloomhaven.
But I think we say is like it's what you like. 20 years ago I was into hardcore sort of wargaming a little bit. Diplomacy, supremacy, and those kind of games.
Yeah, you were looking to tick off all your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Now those games just are too long. It's like I still like.
Well, you're a family man now. You have wife and kids. That really changes the ability to get those long, good games in.
It does. But the point being is not that I don't like those games anymore. I still love those games. They're just not hitting the table as much. And I think that's what drives the top 10 is what hits the table most frequently for you at the time, right?
Well, we got a call coming in. Let's see if we can do the audio right this time. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
This is Ron Frazier from Atlanta.
My man. We've got Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Games with us. Did you and Frenchy get to meet up at the retreat?
Yes, we played a couple of games there. He taught me Dune Imperium and Origins First Builders.
Well, say hi to each other, folks.
How you doing? Good. How's the family doing, Ron?
They're doing great. We had a little visit to one of the local game stores, and now everybody's sleeping but me.
I can picture Ron laying in bed, got kiddos everywhere, on the phone, just trying to do a little phone call here. Shh, don't mind Poppy. Go ahead, go back to sleep. Poppy's just on the phone.
Yeah. So, I guess I'm gonna have to wait till next week to hear about the Southern board game expo or whatever it was down in Louisiana. So
I think in Louisiana, in Creole, the way they say it in Creole is festival. That's the words they use. But although we're not going to talk about everything we did, I will show off again this awesome can of Juicifer Louisiana IPA.
So Ron, I come to Atlanta at least once a year for Dragon Con, but sometimes twice a year. What's the game store that I got to hit up next time I'm in Atlanta? Because I don't think I've actually ever been to a game store in Atlanta all the times I've gone there.
Well, all right. So the one that I absolutely love above all others is called Meeple Madness, and so that's in Brazelton, Georgia. That's
Isn't that by the Georgia Mall?
That's about a half an hour drive.
No, that's Buford. Brazelton has a racetrack.
Yeah. So Brazelton is further north of Buford. So that's a little bit of a ride from the Atlanta City proper.
Right.
But it's a great space. Very knowledgeable staff, great customer service, well lit. Family family friendly. It's fantastic.
While we're talking about the topic of ranking, why didn't you say gigabytes? Why didn't you put gigabytes at the top of that list?
Well, I am a man with two small kids, and when I look at going to a game store, I take all of that into account, and so Lethal Madness, they gear towards a family friendly audience, and I really appreciate that. And Gigabytes is great. I'm not taking anything.
It's Marietta, if I'm right. Gigabytes is Marietta, and that's
right.
northwest of Atlanta.
Yes, exactly. But if I had to pick one, it would be Lethal Madness. Although I have to drive 30 minutes for that one, I got to drive 30 minutes to Gigabyte. I have to drive 10 minutes to Level Up. It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
That's not a bad problem to have.
No, it's not.
Game store 10 minutes from you is pretty cool. I think I'm close to Armada, but it's still about 20 minutes from here, with good traffic, 15, 20 minutes. And I feel like if it was just a tad closer, I can just sneak in on the way from the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like you make that grocery run or that honey-do list run. I just wish it was one right between me and all those honey-do runs.
There was a game store closer to us a couple of years back, and unfortunately it closed. But yeah, that was
Learn to Play.
It was in the public shopping center. It's like I'm gonna go pick up dinner and
stop by the game store.
Yeah. Hey, Frenchy, since Frenchy's on here, there was some place in Colorado that I saw that was made out of that was originally a house. I forget the name of it.
Oh, was it something I mentioned 2 weeks ago? Yeah.
That looked awesome.
So we have a game group in the city of Greeley on the other side of where I live, and so the couple that have been hosting this game meetup for 10 years, they've always wanted to have a board game house, not a cafe, but a house. So they purchased the old Mayor House in the city of Greeley and renovated it during the pandemic. So it's an old Victorian house, but each room has at least 2 different tables. And then upstairs, they have 2 adjoining rooms that they blew out the swinging doors so they could have huge social deduction games, because we've got a lot of eclectic gamers. There's the heavy cardboard people. There's the party gamers. There's the TI4 people, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later.
Oh, those people.
Heavy.
And,
I am those people.
TI4 and heavy cardboard.
So anyway, so they made a small little mini kitchen inside. So it's $10 minimum purchase of food to go gaming, and now they're also doing it with youth groups on Sunday.
Oh,
we have
beautiful.
a gaming group on Saturday. They're starting to incorporate company outings as people are coming back. If you want to do kind of a company, appreciation day or something like that, come to our house and rent it out and play board games and everything. So it's a pretty neat thing that they've been doing. And so we have, I think at the most we've had 40 in there since they've opened it up about a month ago.
And so it's not like an Airbnb where people can stay in the house. It's just the house is a gaming house that you can go to, and it's open during business hours for gaming, and you can pay a fee for that.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah, and come on in, and they said they could fit almost 100 in there. I don't know how they'll do that, So, but it's they've got a nice library. People bring in their own games, but it's just kind of neat because every room's a little bit different theme,
Nice.
And they've got some of the BGG, the artist series posters. They framed all those, and so they've got those in the various rooms as well. So it's a pretty nice setup.
That's pretty cool. And you said the social, the way you described the 2 rooms with the blown open doors, that's like 2 rooms and a boom, perfect for that type of setup. Yeah.
That is exactly how they described it. Yep.
Cool.
Ron, do you have a cafe like that? Because we have Your Turn. It's kind of like that. You pay for a minimum amount of food or library usage to play games there. I can't think of anything like that in Georgia. Ron, what do you know?
So there's Battle and Brew, which actually is more focused on console games and computer games. But they also do have a small board game collection, and then you can come in there and pay a fee or buy food, whichever works. If you pay a fee, like you can borrow games from the board game collection, but I don't see many serious board gamers coming in there, borrowing stuff from their library. So, like the last time I went there, we played with some friends, and we all got lunch there. So there was no charge. There was no surcharge because we didn't use anything in the library. So there's that. There's a place in Athens, Georgia, it's about an hour east, called the Rook and Pawn. I don't know if it's still in business. Because I went there a few years ago, like I want to say 5 years ago. That place was great, but it was small. And other than that, I can't think of any.
No, that's still, you made a list.
Yeah,
you still made a list. I mean,
a couple there.
In Georgia, I feel like everything in Georgia is so far away. Whenever I have family up there in out of Gainesville, out of Lawrenceville, and out of Beaufort. So I'm familiar with the areas. We visit there a lot. But Gigabytes has always been my shop, and it's because Gigabytes hosts a lot of X-Wing tournaments. I visited there a lot for that.
Nice.
But more importantly, they have Tampa beer. So there's nothing better than getting knocked out of a 96-person tournament, right? And just having a beer from home. Just a little comfort beer.
I know that, so the house thing made me remember. There's an Airbnb in Orlando that's like a 7-bedroom house. That's like gaming house. It's not. Yeah,
it's got like Monopoly rooms.
Yeah, like every room is themed into different games, and they got pool tables and whatever. And like we talked about, like let's get that and bring our own board games. But imagine if there was an Airbnb that had a gaming library in it, and you could rent that house out and just anyway. I'm giving people ideas. Copyright.
I got to talk to Mrs. Cabrera.
Right.
Let's see what Mrs. Cabrera says.
To get residuals on that idea.
Yeah. But no, that'd be cool. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing that trend of gaming cafes and places to game and having libraries now are carrying it way more than they did in the past, which is cool. Like more opportunities to bring people into the
It's more
industry.
normalized.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, before you go, real quick question. I saw a video pop up on my feed from FFG about Marvel Champions. Is there something coming up there that I should be aware of? Is there a redo, a Kickstarter, a backing or something? What do you know?
Marvel Champ. Well, Sinister Motors is coming out soon. As a matter of fact, I've seen several people that have already gotten it. It's the most recent expansion, which is Spider-Theme. Has Miles Morales and
half Puerto Rican, half black.
Yep, and the Sinister Six.
All right, so but I still need to get the base set, and like right now, everybody wants a bunch of money for it, and I don't want to give you a bunch of money. Like I want to give you like light money.
Okay, we've been talking for months, and you still don't have the base set.
No, every time I look, they want like full retail. I'm not willing to pay full retail. We'll figure it out.
All right, well, get yourself the miniature market because they're running a big sale right now, so they may have a discount on that.
Okay,
but dude, like people, I see copies pop up all the time of people that are trying to get rid of it because they get it and they try it and they're disappointed with it, so they try to turn it around. So
you know what? Let me do that. Let me try a used. I'm not a huge fan of buying used. I like the scent of fresh ink in the morning. I love the smell of fresh napalm in the morning.
Just buy a really cheap game for like $2 somewhere, and then just
Frenchy laughs, but Frenchy knows I'm right. There's a scent, there is a smell to opening a pack of Magic cards, a box of a board game, unwrapping that deck of cards.
Yep.
It's just got this this, and I'm sure they're all chemicals that are not good for me, but I'm all. Oh. All right, brother Ron. I appreciate you for calling in, man. Thanks for holding down the fort for Georgia. You represent the state of Georgia on the show. Have a good night with the kiddos.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Thanks.
See you later, Ron.
That's Ron Frazier out of the ATL.
Yeah.
My man. I'm going to run through some of the comments in the chat. And then I realized I never plugged in the Ethernet cord. So we're running off Wi-Fi. It's a little laggy. I was like, why is it laggy? It's because I usually have Robert here with his checklist. He's got that executive function that I lack.
I'm too new to
you don't know all the systems yet. And I just redid all the systems. So he knows what needs to be done each time.
Ron being on.
You guys are building the plane while you're flying it this week, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wings.
I'm the passenger waiting for the thing to drop so I can get my oxygen. But Ron's a big role play, or he plays role. Ron does a lot of role playing games. Excuse me. And you mentioned that there was a lot of role playing at the Colorado convention. Are you into role playing as well, or are you more of a board gamer?
No, more of a board gamer. I did get into it, the early '80s. With the AD&D, first edition and everything, and I've dabbled in fifth edition, but it's probably been about, I don't know, probably about a year after that came out that I've last touched a role-playing game. So
sure,
more on the cardboard now, cardboard and resin miniature. Right?
There you go. And so from the 400 or 500 person con in Colorado to Dice Tower West, how was that in Vegas?
It was amazing, only because we haven't really done much of that the last couple of years, but it was great to see so many people there. I don't even know what the count of people was, but people that you interact, social media, online, and everything that you message, and you're commenting on their Facebook feeds or whatever, and you see them in person, and it's like, oh, I know you already,
right?
And so I'll give you like one example is Mark Streed, who does the Dice Tower previews. He lives 10 minutes from me, and you think that since I've been out here, the two of us would have connected in real life? No, we didn't meet until Dice Tower West a couple weeks ago. So now we're trying to plan to go ahead and start finally getting together in person, but it's nice to finally connect and see people that you have, they're either content creators or they're just, everyday people like us that are, gamers and everything. And you're like, oh, we met them at the retreat. There was probably about at least 6 people that I saw at the retreat in Orlando that were out at Dice Tower West too. And it's like, it's like we never stop playing games. Like we never stop communicating. It's like, oh, hey, Mark. Oh, hey, here. How are you guys? And just pick up where you left off. And so it's just refreshing to just reconnect with people that you game with. And it's a big community.
That's awesome. And I think that's what I miss. You've been to Dice Tower events. I'm pretty active on YouTube. I'm watching YouTube all day while I'm working and streaming stuff. So I know the names of people, comment on things regularly, and to be able to meet some of those people in person would be awesome.
Like Wayne here, apparently he's lived here 20 years. And I grew up in Tampa, came here since Hurricane Andrew from Miami. And, we started talking about the different people we know, the different places we've gamed, the circles that we've been. It's like we've been gravitating around each other, but have just never collided.
Right.
We've never met.
It's crazy.
And here we are spending months online. We're playing video games, not video games, board games online. Usually after the show, for a while there, we did a good time of playing games after the show online. And here he is, we're live streaming, playing games. Finally realized he's only 15 minutes up the road. I'm like, bro, come over. come over.
What this virtual stuff for?
Right. Why are we playing this on? Just come over. So, yeah, just meeting people in person.
In person, that'd be great.
Just the thing, that spark that starts it is that board game. But then you start to flesh out the personal parts, the family, the other hobbies.
Yeah. And you guys probably would answer this question better, but I get the feeling watching YouTube people, content creators, the vast majority of them are exactly who you think they are, right? There's no persona there. They are who they are. And so meeting them, you like you said, you already know them, right? You've watched them on YouTube, or you've commented, you've talked via
Tim
chat.
Chown talked about that when he went to Dice Tower West. What he said, one of the things that really stood out for him, and we got a call coming in, is one of the things that really stood out for him was that everyone he met at the con was exactly how they were online.
Absolutely. 100%.
We got a call coming in. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from? Hang on. I'm trying to get the audio here. What, am I missing something? Hold on. Try that again. Is it working now?
Hey, it's Connor from Louisiana.
There we go, my man Connor. Connor
My
from
man.
Louisiana. He's a part of Mitchell's game group. I got to meet Connor, talking about meeting people in person. I got to meet Connor in person and actually play games with Connor. And we played the game of games, Ark Nova.
I'm surprised you guys.
Oh,
finished it.
yeah.
You're done.
It
here.
took 2 days. It was a 2-day event.
It took 2 days.
Connor, we got Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Games as a guest with us. We have Wayne here with me in studio. What topics do you have for us?
So I actually had a kind of a big question. So for a few months now, I've finally got some of my friends that have never played any kind of game, board game, tabletop, RPG, nothing. I finally got them all to sit down together and play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
Hold on, that deserves.
thing is-
hang on, that earned it. That earned.
There we go. But I got them all to play D&D together finally with me as the dungeon master. And now the thing is, I want them to start branching on board games. The issue is there's not, at least in my opinion, I've not found a board game that resembles a lot like D&D. Now, of course, there's Gloomhaven, and I'm sure a couple of them would probably play a couple rounds of Gloomhaven, but not consistently. So my question is, are there any games that you can think of that a bunch of people that really enjoy D&D would enjoy as a board game to kind of ease them into the hobby?
All right, I'm gonna let Frenchie go first, but before we do that, we got to get some context on the people, right? So it doesn't sound like
Okay.
they're gamers, because
So-
otherwise they would already been into board games. How did you meet them? What circles did you connect with them already?
So definitely, the group is 6 people strong. 4 of them I grew up with, going through, from elementary school all the way graduated.
So they're
from
giving
high
you the
school.
benefit of the doubt.
them
We'll let
were-
you teach them that weird game you've always played.
Yes. And so 2 of them were work friends that, they all knew once they got jobs and became adults.
Okay, so you're evangelizing at work, kind of bringing people in. Hi, welcome to the company. Thanks for joining. I like board games.
The 2 truths and a
Pretty
lie.
much.
I own a board that no one guesses you own board game.
All right, Frenchie, you got some context on the folks we're talking about. You kind of know Connor's. Well, I'll let you know Connor won Ark Nova, so that tells you the level of Connor's ability to play games. What advice would you give him game-wise for what to play? Connor, this is a segment, bro. Connor, you just invented a segment. Call in and we'll give you advice. All right, go, Frenchie.
There you go. Actually, I'd ask Connor one question: is what type of gamers are in the one session of D&D? Are they there to really play the game and follow the rules, or do they just want to have an absolute fun blast doing that? Because that will kind of dictate my answer a bit.
So session to session, it's kind of a mix. So 1 or 2 of them really like the combat aspect of D&D, being super tactical and like using all of their tools to their advantage. Some people really like the social role playing aspect of it, and others are just there because their friends are doing it and they think it's fun. And I like to throw in some jokes here and there as part of the session, stuff that we as friends really enjoy. So it's kind of a mixed bag. So I guess if there's a general game that kind of maybe cultivates all 3, or if there's one that really emphasizes one of those mechanics.
If they really just want to have a loose game, it's not one of the greatest games, but if they just want to have an absolute blast, it doesn't have the greatest mechanics. Munchkin may not be a bad game. That's just, they can have a bunch of fun if they want to do that. But I'm looking right above Wayne there, and there's Hero Quests. That may not be.
That was a
bad
comment in
introductory.
the chat. It was Hero Quest.
Munchkin's not a bad. Is not a horrible. I mean, I know the hardcore.
God, I'm trying to hold my tongue.
know.
I'm trying to hold my tongue.
But
Lord Jesus, help
hardcore
me be
gamers,
nice tonight.
hardcore gamers don't. They always, they turn their nose up at Munchkin. But there is something simplistic about it, and you can have a blast at attacking each other and playing around with it. But there's a lot of other games that are similar to that too. I think the other thing,
I'm pulling the games off my shelf. I'm looking around.
Carlos, we've all played it. We've cut our teeth on games that we have long since graduated from. So
And I own like 8 of
where
them.
they are.
Yeah.
I own
Yeah,
I'm
we
a cowboy in space.
we
and
may not want to play Munchkin, but then people will you have to. The other thing too is I think about games that where you can still be the GM, and guide them through a game. So and they had, Fury of Dracula is a game where you're the GM and the other players can play the characters, and you can encourage them to role play the characters. Mysterium is a game again where you can play kind of commander, and then everyone else. So you may think of some games like that where you are driving the fun, and if they're into the game, you drive to the game. If they're not into the game, then you can drive it towards the role play aspect of, some of that, or.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend going deep into like the Descents, all of them. 2, 2.0, 2.5, the I don't know what we call the new version.
3-point cardboard.
Because that's all it is cardboard and app. They're great. Don't get me wrong. They're great games. They're just, it's a lot. It's intimidating. I would recommend and we have some videos of it on the show, and I busted it out here. Night of the Living Dead Zombicide. And the reason I choose Night of the Living Dead Zombicide, as long as your folks aren't turned away because of the zombie aspect, automatically you get this Americana connection to one of the first movies. It's an easier thing to insert. Like, okay, look, this is normal mainstream stuff. This is American movie cinematics, and you're playing through all the different scenes of the movie, and it's fully co-op, so nobody gets hurt feelings from a one versus many, and the rules are lighter. I mean, if you think Zombicide is already a light rule set for fun, Zombicide Night of the Living Dead is actually a lighter version. This, to me, is a great introduction to a co-op game, which most people probably won't understand what a co-op game is. Yeah. You play against the board? They think you're crazy. So my answer is Zombicide, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, and the other one that I hate to suggest games that have a high price tag too, but like a Mansions of Madness too is another one that you can get some tactical thinking in some of those missions, and very role play. And it's very role play heavy, and there's puzzles.
So that is a fun one.
You get kind of an escape room. So depending on the mission, if you have it, I don't know if you have Mansions of Madness, but that's a game that's always been a hit when I bring it to.
I don't think it's ever not been a hit with any group.
Yeah,
as long as you got folks, it sounds like they've already been willing to step out of their comfort zone with you, Connor, to play. All right, let's indulge Connor, and they say, "Wow, this is actually fun." Mansions of Madness is probably one on that list too.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's always branching out into other role playing games too. If you're not, if you're doing D&D.
No, put it away. Come on, zip it up, put it away. He's letting his role player out.
Yeah, that's right. Beans and dice. Count.
What else you got? So what do you think, Connor? What are your thoughts?
So I definitely thought about the Mansions of Madness because I've looked into it as just beginning a game in general to play with Mitchell and the normal group. But I guess hearing from y'all, I guess that makes sense to try it with my D&D group.
Yeah, I think Mansions of Madness over Night of the Living Dead. I really do think that, though. Now that you brought it up, that was probably the closest I felt to a role play game without all the brain work of rules. Because the rules are simple, the puzzles are hard, the decisions are hard, the combat is strong. Like you're fighting for your life against Cthulhu monsters. Mansions of Madness is a good one. Great choice.
And when having the benefit of a wife that's in theater, we get the little character card. She'll with her group, they'll be like, okay, so who's this character? And answer, try to, before you even get playing, have them create a story about their character.
Yeah, why is this little old lady in this house?
Or what?
Or why is the priest next to her?
Try to build some backstory, and then as the game unfolds, you'll see some of those players using that backstory to.
I'm so glad Robert's not here today because Robert will shut this all down. He is not about theme.
That's why Connor called this week.
There you go. Yeah,
he's like, it's my week to call.
But I found it true. It's like as we've played a game of Manchester Man, we're 2 hours into it, into the session, and someone's doing something like, why would you do that? Well, I wouldn't. I'm a little old lady. I'm not going to go off with some random hobo with a dog and whatever. It helps build the story. And
I hope that helps, Connor. I really hope that helps. It was a great question, man.
No, it definitely helps a lot.
Tell us about your win in Ark Nova. This was not your first play.
No, so when we played at the con, that was only my second playthrough of the game.
What were your thoughts after the second play? What do you think?
So when I was first taught the game by Jeremy, he explained that it had a lot of similarities to Mars. And now the first playthrough, I wasn't convinced because I was playing the first game with the mindset of Mars, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see where he's at, but I don't fully see it. The second playthrough, I had more context about what was going on. I was like, okay, I can see where there's some similarities of Mars. I would recommend people that are looking to get Ark Nova and play Ark Nova based on the idea it's like Mars, be a little cautious about that.
I'm with you, Connor. I don't feel the Mars flavor as strong as people told me.
Now, I will say if you like the amount of strategies that can form from a game of Mars, with or without expansions, Ark Nova is a great game for that. It's a wonderful game if you want to have multiple strategies to win and have multiple possibilities of winning. Because there's so many cards in the deck. There's so many different ways you can upgrade your things. There's so many ways you can build your zoo. There's a crap ton of possibilities. Hopefully, crap was a good word to say on the show.
Oh, we've had worse.
Okay.
But my
But yeah,
question,
there's so many possibilities with Ark Nova.
So you got a question for Connor?
Yeah, 2 plays in, for the length of that game, does it replace other
4 hours.
Yeah. Does it, for that investment, do you feel it's worth the game? Or if you go, hey, if I got 4 hours, I'm breaking out Terra Mystica or not Terra Mystica, I'm at Scythe or Terraforming Mars, or I'd rather play those games.
Time has never been one of my all-time favorite board games is the Game of Thrones game, and I've only ever played it base game. A full game of that is long. Like anybody that's played a full game of it knows it's long. I know there's a game at the con they played with the expansions, and they claimed it was like a 6.5 hour game.
They invited me to that game, and it was like just about to get started. And I've seen that trap before. I'm like, that's bait.
It's insane. Yeah, it's a long. I mean, I love it. I would have loved to play that game, but so with that kind of like scaling, 4 hours is not a bad game, and especially since Ark Nova is such a fun game, and there are similarities to Mars, which is a game that I've played easily hundreds of, one-on-one even. 4 hours seems like nothing to me. Now, I will say it would be nice if it was cut down by like an hour and a half, 2 hours, make it like a 2 hour game. That'd be perfect. But I can deal with a 4 hour game in a 4-player game.
Well, that's it's great to be a young man with nothing to draw you back home. 6 hours, that's nothing, Wayne. I do 6 hours all day. Connor, man, thanks for calling. Thanks for the great game. I knew right about halfway through that game when we selected our objectives that it was going to be a run between you and me. I was watching us, and I was happy for you to get the win. I was sad I lost, but I was happy it was you.
Carlos.
Me too. Like, he was pulling for me in other games. I was pulling for Connor in this game too. I didn't want Dan or Rob to win. All right, Poppy. Well, have a good night. Thanks for the call.
No problem. You have a good one.
See you. It was great meeting them in person. It's one thing to hear about these folks and their game groups. It's another thing to go meet them in person and play games with them and see how they interact with the world. Let's run through some of the comments here in the chat as we get towards the end of the show. The phone line is still open because, we do that. We take calls all the way to 10 o'clock, even if it gets us past. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll up. Mitchell says, I agree with Carlos. Ranking games is too subjective for me to successfully accomplish. I'm not alone. Mitchell and I usually don't agree, so that's pretty cool. Mr. Jeeves, that's why I like PubMeeple ranking engine.
Yeah, that's the one where you upload your BGG list and you can pick and choose between them. And
I did it, and it was pretty cool because it'll show you 2 games, and you pick which one you like, and it'll show you 2 more, and it's almost like you're going to the eye doctor. They're like 1, 2, 1, 2. A, B.
You
right?
do it enough, it gives you the ranking. Yeah.
It gives you enough information to rank it for you. I just can't spend that much energy. That's a long time ranking and stacking those games. But PubMeeple, folks, if you have a problem with it too, I would give it a chance. Samantha says, I think ranking your top 100 is awesome. A lot of people love the ranking of games. Like, they just love the idea of going through and giving them a ranking. We got a call coming in. Beans and Nice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from. Well, I'm still not working there. Let me try that again. Nick, you with me?
Yes.
Now the folks can hear you at home. Say your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, this is Nick from Wesley Chapel.
Hola, Nick.
Hey, how's it going? Happy Thursday, guys.
We've got Frenchy of Frenchy Plays Games from Instagram and Facebook as our guest host. Next to me, I've got Wayne Kruger of Loots.
That's right. Hey, good evening, guys. Hey, Frenchy. Hey, Wayne. How's it going? How's it going?
Good.
Nick.
Just started to tune in and figured I'd call.
Thank you.
Hey,
Appreciate
how's
you.
it going?
You keeping
course,
your,
of course,
your,
yeah.
your
So-
day a game for the whole year streak still living strong?
Game a day. We are rapidly approaching day 100 and still
That's
going
crazy.
strong. I'm pretty jazzed.
Nice.
Pretty jazzed. Yeah, it's going well. So for Frenchy, hi, my name is Nick. I committed to doing a game a day, trying to do for the whole year. Now, a game is a game, so it might be as quick and dirty as a game of silver and gold, or even making bacon, basically a Farkle equivalent or whatever. But hey, a game is a game, and then we try to get as many big games as possible in there while we do it. But it's been great. Yeah, a lot of fun.
This your first time ever
So-
doing that, Nick?
Yeah. So, and as silly as it is, I went ahead and finally made the huge, whatever it was, $1.99 on the BG Stats app, so I could do challenges. So I actually made a couple of challenges, and one of them was that it's actually 365 plays in the year. So technically, I'm already actually, not to humble brag, but it's actually ahead of that, because there's been a bunch of days where I played more than one game. So
Yeah, I can't afford that $1.99.
Doing
I
good.
just can't buy.
I will say, Nick, you've earned it, Nick. You've earned it. There's an achievement. Keep it going.
I try. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So no, and actually, Carlos, you and I have been chatting about this. The game I'm really excited about, and received our new Kickstarter, and I've already gotten 3 plays in Tiny Epic Dungeon. That's been a lot of fun. It's been it's super challenging, but I think, Carlos, I remember you were excited about this, and I think maybe even more than I was, to be a game that a dungeon crawler that you could set up quickly, play with a wider audience, and knock out a good dungeon crawler feel. And I do think it is that. It's just more intense and more challenging than I think we thought it was going to be.
There were 4 plays of it
but,
at the Southern Board Game Fest. 2 of them I did.
Yeah.
2 of them Marshall did. Marshall and I played together, but he was telling me about the plays he had. All of them were losses.
Right.
We're grown folks, and we got trounced by this game.
So that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
So mine's at home unplayed with most of my other Tiny Epic games, but it's a game. It's a dungeon crawler you can set up easy and take anywhere, but you can't beat it. So how is that going to help get people to play dungeon crawlers, right?
And that's why I thought about mentioning it to Connor.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? I want
too
them to
hard.
go home liking games.
Yeah.
And when the dungeon destroys you every time, that's not a game for you. So what'd you do about that, Nick?
Yeah. So me and the boys played. So for those that don't know at home, the game is a dungeon crawler, and they split it kind of cleverly into 2 different acts. The first act, you're just trying to find the dungeon's lair. The second act is all about the final boss battle. So it's a neat thematic build up. As you're trying to find the dungeon, the boss's lair in the dungeon, you're also fighting off goblins and minions, and you're looking for loot and spells, and it's nice. It's a good story arc, good game. But yeah, in the first game, me and the boys, we did not even make it to the second act. We didn't find the dungeon, the boss's lair, not by a long shot. And in a fairly disheartening way. It was like we kept getting knocked down, and when your character goes unconscious, you spend your whole turn just resting, and you heal.
I'm
a
getting
little
like
bit,
PTSD thinking back, like 1,000 yards there.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's the key ended up then being that whole getting knocked unconscious is a losing strategy. Who knew, right? Turns out you got to stay on your feet. So that night, after me and the boys got trounced, that night I soloed the game with playing 3 characters, and I actually really like this. There is no solo variant of the game. If you want to solo the game, you just play 2 characters.
I think that's the way it is for like majority of dungeon crawls. Majority of dungeon crawls say for one player, just play 2 heroes.
Yeah, exactly. And I like it because it's all open information. It's all always kind of a group thing that you go through. So I soloed the game, and I consider myself a gamer. Like I'm not new to this idea of dungeon crawler. And
I will say in games played here in Tampa, and I think I've known Nick dang near over 5 years now almost. In games played with Nick in Tampa, 95% have been won by Nick. So, like, if there was anyone, I can pull the stats up if you want me to, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to blow you up the head. But if you want to win a game, you bring Nick with you.
Or if you want to win the game, let Nick play the other game.
Yeah, and all that, and I appreciate the accolades there, but in that solo play, I didn't even make it past Act 1. Right, I didn't even find the boss, and so I'm like, okay. All right, what is going on here? Like, there is a strategy.
And this is. And let me pause you, Nick. Let me pause you, folks. Folks at home. He talks about the trouncing part, right? I'm totally okay playing a co-op game and getting to that cusp of winning,
and then
you have that hope.
Yep.
Right, and it's dashed away.
You don't even get the hope in this game.
No, in this game, you're like, dude, we only found 1 minion. We needed 4 of them. And we were dead.
Yep.
And so now, Frenchy, you showed it. Have you played it yet? Also, or
no, it's still in shrink.
So leave it.
No,
we're not doing a good job of telling you to unshrink that.
Go ahead, Nick. Tell him.
And here's where the kind of a small little epiphany happened after the second trouncing. One of which was me solo playing all 3 characters. I was like, okay, so there is something to this that we're missing, kind of fundamental. And I feel like I actually not that I put a ton of stock in the Tiny Epic series, but it's not like this is their first game, right? Like they make good games. They make stuff that are like mediocre, but they should know how to make.
They make epic games that don't need to be in a tiny box. They can make these as full production games.
They could, and most notably, I trust their ability to produce a balanced game that should be winnable, right? Like they wouldn't have made a dungeon crawler. They wouldn't have sent it through playtest and had everyone lose every time. So there's something I'm missing, something I'm not doing right. So that made us. I really actually thought about, okay, holy crap! What I like about this game is it is not going to cater to your neat idea, to your like, oh, I feel like as a sorcerer, I'm going to go walk down that hallway and just see what's in that next room. Like, F you, you're going to die.
And you did.
You know? Yeah.
There's no Scooby. So what you're saying, there's no Scooby-Dooing in this. You have to stay as a party.
Yeah, that's right. Right. You have to. So, and Carlos, you mentioned it on Facebook. You have to stay together as an adventuring party. That was a big first. So Frenchy, if you still got it in shrink, this is the biggest thing. The whole first act, because it's all about finding the boss's lair, you have this pressure to explore, but it turns out the whole party can stay together. You do have time. Time is not where you're going to lose in the first act. You're going to lose by getting knocked unconscious and then standing up and getting knocked unconscious again until you then run out of time because you spent the whole game on the floor. But keep the party together, heal each other, support each other. And it becomes all of a sudden like, oh, all right, now minions, we can take it, like they appear and we take them out by the time they get to activate. So it was a very big strategy adjustment there of, hold on, in that first act, you've got time to stay together. You don't need to spread out and explore. Stay together, walk down a hallway, figure it out. And then, yes, we did, as Carlos knows, house rule a couple of things because I am playing with a 9-year-old and 10-year-old, and even when I played, I got my butt kicked. So there are a couple aspects of the game that I feel like it's a game that we paid money to own so we would have fun, and I'm allowed to like make sure that that's the experience we have, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it's just going to sit on my shelf and I'll never play it again, right?
Scott Alms is not going to come to your house, snatch your board game off the table and say, you're not playing this right, I'm taking it home. Scott Alms is not going to do
that. Exactly, yeah. I mentioned this. I've never house ruled a game because
You always win
I think
them.
what we'll do is the house. Well, whatever. The house rule is going to be temporary until we get better at the game. I think this is a game that you can practice, get better at as a team, get better at even if you're going to solo it, because when you solo it, you are the team. And we're going to peel back the house rules. But I basically, without getting too much into it, you start with knowing nothing about items and spells that you could possibly acquire. I started now with a small market. So you know a little bit about the items and spells you could acquire. It doesn't break the game. It just all of a sudden you know a little bit more than you did before. We did give ourselves more time, which we didn't need. Again, time is actually not the problem if you strategize correctly. And then there are a couple of, and I will go ahead and say the designer did it wrong on a couple of the goblins. Like, they claim that no, this is really what we meant.
Range 2. Doesn't matter if they're walls or not. As long as it's range 2.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if I can see you. If it's range 2.
Got to be line of sight. Come on.
The shooty goblin, which is very clearly holding a regular old crossbow, can apparently hit you around the corner at range 2 or whatever. And it's just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. We're going to nerf that a little bit. It's a small nerf. The shooty goblin only does 1 damage anyways, which is why he can move and shoot around corners apparently. But we nerfed that, so it saved us a damage here, a damage there. And that was it. We gave ourselves.
I was envisioning like the golden gun from N64 GoldenEye, right? Like you can shoot through walls and see far away. I mean, I know this is like a 1998 reference, so some of y'all may not get that, but.
That game never came off. That game was on.
Get your Rumble Pack, your Mountain Dew, and Doritos. Let's go.
Yeah, but
anyways, I will say that. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, the Tiny Epic. Some of them aren't great games, but there's no objectively bad games among the Tiny Epic games. There's some that are. I mean, Tiny Epic Galaxies is probably the best.
I'm not saying it's a bad game. Please, folks, when I say keep it in shrink, the only reason I said that is if you don't want to feel like you suck at gaming. It's a hard game, is what I'm saying.
This is our first one where it's like, wow, this is difficult, right? That's. But I think.
But that's cool because it's a challenge. It's a co-op, so I can't yell at Nick for losing. Yeah. It's just something I gotta go grok. Right. I gotta go figure out.
But I feel like I gotta do what Nick did and play it solo like 5 or 6 times before I bring in some of the game group, because
no one else will play with you again.
That'd be frustrating.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Wow, we lost already."
Okay, here's what we gotta do. Stay together. This is D&D. Don't go if you go off on your own in a dungeon.
Don't split the party.
You're not coming back.
Yeah, and I mean, so the 2 biggest things. So long story medium, because I'm taking up the whole rest of the show here, but. Me and the boys played again yesterday, and with these house rules, and most importantly, with 2 big strategic differences, we did win on the last turn. So, winning.
So you found that balance.
Role that we could win.
House rule, different rules over the, and still only won on the last turn.
On the last roll, and it was not at all.
It was a roll too. So it wasn't even like they did anything. It's just the dice showed up.
Oh, and they did. He rolled like a 5 and then a +2 and a +1. So it was like, holy crap, we did it. Like, it was that. But see, here's the thing. When we did it, and this is why I'm okay with it, when we did it, Landis leapt out of his seat, hands like going crazy. Leo is like, yes! And it was this moment that is why you play games.
Yes,
right?
Those are the moments that make you a gamer for life.
Mm-hmm.
That's another topic for another week. Is how much should you win a game like that? What percentage?
Yeah.
Topic for another week.
Right. And so I would say here's where I think this game is going to end up. When people if people practice and apply some strategies. By the way, the second big one is you got to be more clever than you think about the routes that you create from the entrance for the goblins. Goblins spawn at the entrance in general all the time. Like, that's where they spawn. Sometimes if you do a special action, they'll spawn right where you are. But in general, you have full control over the route that the goblins will take later in the game, mid-game, especially once you're in Act 2. The goblins keep coming out as you're trying to fight the boss. And some of them only move 1 or 2 spaces. And if you do house rule the shooting goblin, you can really mess with them a little bit. So making this winding path as you're exploring during Act 1 actually is what won us the game when we did play, because the goblins didn't catch up to us. Like, we didn't have to worry about them. There were only one on the screen, then table. Then there was only two. Then there was only three. Okay, there's three. Now we have to go back and kill one. But other than that, they weren't in the game during the boss fight. And that was important. And that was what was nice about that. Even if we hadn't house ruled the shooty goblin, that would have changed 2 damage total. We get full credit for making this winding path on purpose so that the goblins wouldn't be a problem for us. And that's other. Don't split up and be very conscious of the path you're creating, not for yourself, but for the goblins in the second half. And then, boom, if all you have to do is kill the boss, it actually is doable.
Because we started with, I said, hey, guys, don't split the party. Dan has the bard and takes off 5 rooms out that way. And I'm like, where are you going? Rob heads east and then ends up creating a blockage. So we've got this wall of rooms that do not connect to anything in the center of the board. And they're all traps that he's got to make his way back. So you're right. It's best to just don't split the party, stick together, work one room at a time. Completing that room, you'll have enough time to get to all the rooms you need. Thank you, man. Thank you for really digging into that. I know I was complaining in our chat room about it and getting beat up on it, and I'm glad to hear that you took it up to figure it out.
It is a fun game that I think has plenty of legs if you have the energy. Now, there's the other thing. In today's modern game landscape, you're not beholden to spend 10 hours practicing a $30 game, right? So if that does not sound interesting to you, then don't do that.
I will say this game has descent levels of complexity and fun inside a small package. They hit their mark. Yeah. They didn't give you what I thought it was going to be, a funsies dungeon crawl play with the kids game.
Right.
They gave you a dungeon crawl inside of a small box.
Yep. And a hard one. I think about it. Wayne was asking about win percentages. I think a practiced team that employs good strategies and plays rules as written only wins this game 30 to 40% of the time. That's where I think it's going to end up, which is on the low side of still fun, I would say. If you can win a third of the time, that I feel like is actually a nice sweet spot for people that want that challenge, as opposed to, I think it came up previously in another show, Mitchell complains about Marvel United. Marvel United is a 90% or higher win rate.
Right.
Some of your other dungeon crawlers, Gloomhaven. Honestly, Gloomhaven, me, Joe, and Rob, we were probably shooting somewhere in the 67 to 75%, 2/3 to 3/4 of the time we win. So this is a hard one, but I think will be winnable once you practice, if you want to take the time to practice.
Well, thanks for the tips.
Anyway.
I'm sure the folks at home, including Frenchy, appreciate it.
Rock and roll. Yeah, it's very good. Sorry to monopolize the whole.
No, it's a conversation I wanted to have. It's the whole reason I did this show. Frenchy wouldn't be doing what he's doing. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I didn't want to talk to people about games. It's 5 o'clock over at Frenchy's home? He's over there in the West Coast somewhere. Yeah. He got time and opportunity.
And Frenchy, I'm excited that you've got the game still in shrink, and now maybe you're a little ready to tackle it. I would say it's actually pretty easy to jump into. It's just you're going to lose.
Nick, you've increased my success rate to 50%. Just taking mental notes of what you're talking about. I have it sort of.
Yeah, change the rules. I mean, it's pretty easy. Just ignore rules. You'll win.
And fine. There you go. All right, you guys have a great night. Right?
Good night, Nick.
Good night, Nick.
Hey.
I got to clear out this chat. The chat's there, and I want to go through it. I know Frenchy's got to go home. It's happy hour out there now in Colorado. I think it's always happy out there in Colorado.
I think while Carlos is pulling up the chat.
Breweries all over the place.
Yeah.
It's always happy.
Was there a game in particular that stuck out from you at the Dice Tower West, or?
I played Ark Nova, and really, really liked it. Would I put it as top game of all time? No, but I'd say it's solid. It definitely deserves the hype. But I played Tabanusi and thought that was a better game, in my opinion. That was a really good game. I like the complexity of strategy, trying to set people up to go ahead and build on some of the projects you're trying to do. So I enjoyed that one a little bit more, but Arc Nova, as advertised, definitely.
Good.
Yeah, strong game. Don't know how often I'll play it,
Yeah.
but strong game.
Tabanusi now. I got to check out more on that. Yeah.
Let's see. Sam says, Samantha says, keep people guessing why a game dropped 20 lower in the list. And she's laughing at that. Yeah. So, yes, maybe it is a marketing strategy. Just let's pick a game and let's drop it down on the list just to kind of get people talking. That's a good idea. Let's see. Sam says family board games places are great. That is why I love Your Turn Board Games Cafe in Zephyr Hills. So Sam's shouting out our local board game cafe in Zephyr Hills. Sam, I met Sam years ago at Armada Games. She's got 2 boys that played X-Wing with us on Thursday nights. So she'd bring them out Thursday nights for the competitive X-Wing. So that's where I ended up meeting her. So for her, always finding places where she can bring her young sons to, because at the time they were younger. So it gave them a place to play, a safe space for them to play in. So and that's a great mom thing too. Like shout out to moms who take the time to take their kids to do the activities they want to do while they sit and kind of hang out. But Sam would be one playing board games while the others were playing your X-Wing.
That's great.
Let's see. Sam's still here. I hope your wife isn't listening. She's laughing. Why you were gone 2 hours to pick up dinner at Armada. I have to say, Armada is just outside of that radius. Like I don't normally go near that. It's just outside. I just wish there was one. Wish Armada was just a little closer.
Like you come up. The Publix was out of the wheat bread. They didn't have the chicken wings.
But somehow I got these marbled golden dice.
Yeah.
Sam's in the chat today. Yeah. She says there's an awesome board game cafe in Georgia, Athens. I think Ron mentioned it too. Athens.
Athens is University of Georgia, so typically you find a lot of board game cafes and stuff like that in college towns.
She says it's called Rook and Pawn, and it looks like a Harry Potter world. Harry Potter world is what she's saying. There it is. Mitch says Carlos is cheap. This is what I was talking about, not wanting to buy champions at full value. He drove 12 hours to Louisiana.
Actually, driving
over
12
springing
hours to
for
Louisiana
airline
was more
tickets.
Expensive than airline tickets.
Where the gas prices are today, it probably was. Okay, listen, folks. Number one, I hate flying. I hate it. Like deep in my soul, like nightmare hate flying. I do it for work because I have to. Outside of that, if I can drive, I will drive it. And you know what? I have a captive audience of my kids. We go check out new places and we eat different things. I recommend road trips. Your kids will hate you. Carlos isn't who I thought he was from YouTube. He's much meaner in real life. I don't disagree. Christian Adventure Gamer says, good evening, everyone. That's Daniel Cervantes out of Warsaw, Indiana, I think it is. So good evening, Daniel. Thanks for jumping into the chat. Mitchell is telling Connor Hero Quest. That's the one he's recommending as his game for his first board game for his D&D group.
Yep.
I don't know. I played it once with Rob. Like I went all in on the Kickstarter. Like I've never played it. I played Warhammer Quest. I don't know, Frenchy, if you ever got into Warhammer Quest.
I have not. No.
It's like the advanced version of Hero Quest done by Games Workshop.
Oh, that's right.
So it's really expensive.
Yeah, super expensive.
And you had to put all
the models together, and I had to paint my Troll Slayer. But you had all kinds of cool Warhammer Fantasy World stuff, and you had decks for traps and decks for rooms. It was a great game. Hero Quest was way simple. I don't know, just way too simple.
Well, it's kind of a mass market game that it.
How is that mass market? How is Dungeon Exploring ever been mass market?
When it was first came
mass market way before in the 80s when it came out.
Yeah, it was
before the 80s.
It was
okay, that's before Carlos.
When a game came out, it was mass market, just like Dark Tower was mass market originally, because there was no gaming hobby really.
So that's all pre-Malone. Because Malone was born in 96. Yeah. So anything after Malone is post-Malone.
Right, yeah.
So 97 on is post-Malone. But anything 96 and earlier is pre-Malone.
Pre-Malone, yeah.
Okay.
But that's what, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. It was.
My puns are bad. I'm sorry, folks.
I know. You got us going in circles here, Carlos.
Let's keep it rolling. Christian Adventures Gamer says, I can list a few games. Yes, he does. Ravenloft is a solid game. Castle Ravenloft. And that is... It's over in the other room. I've been moving stuff around. I have it. Castle Ravenloft. D&D. Wizards of the Coast, publisher of D&D, also made a great series of cooperative dungeon crawls, including Castle Ravenloft, Dragons of Ashardalon or something. I can't remember the name of it. And then the Legends of Drizzt, the Dark Draw.
Ravenloft is a dark. Yeah, I have all the Ravenloft books, and
it's all like vampire stuff. They made, and it was a good dungeon crawl. It really was. It had all the D&D tropes.
Forgot about those games. Yeah, I haven't played them, but I forgot about those. So that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, thanks for that, Daniel. Mitch says, Connor throwing jokes in there. He's gonna scare them off. Christian Adventure Gamer Descent Journeys in the Dark 2nd Edition has character development, player powers, and is a campaign setting with a dark overlord. I did like 2nd Edition of Descent's Journey in the Dark. That was probably my favorite version of Descent so far. I still have both copies. Sam says, tell us how Arc Nova was, Carlos. I received mine in the mail. All right, Sam, you get to bring it to the next game day. I will say I felt like my brain was melting for a while there. Like I just didn't know where to go and what to do. And it took a long time to kind of build a strategy and tactics to implement that strategy before I realized what was going on. And it was towards the end of the game, 2 days. We started at 7 o'clock on Saturday night, and the location closes at 11:30. So we are 7 to 11:30, and we weren't even halfway done-ish, just over halfway. And then we finished it up the next morning. So it was a 2-day jaunt. It wasn't until the last bit where I got my things rolling, moving, that I felt like, ooh, I want to do more of this, and then it suddenly ended. So it was like a lot of pain up front to build an engine, to not watch that engine hum, because Connor finished it. Thanks, Connor.
From photos, that game looks like it's the biggest table hog I've seen.
It wasn't as much as I thought.
No, really? Okay.
Yeah, it really wasn't as
Maybe
much as I thought.
The pictures make it look worse than it is.
It's long, it's big, but you're focused in this little world of your tableau for your zoo, and then your cards play. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is on that big board. So it really doesn't take up too much more, like a side level amount of room, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, not massive at all. I mean, I think, what is it, Bitoku is pretty big, the spread.
I'm not even familiar with Bitoku. Like, both Wayne and I are talking about, we got to go check it out.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, the issue was I was really focused on my little zoo and my tableau. There was very little of me looking around and interacting with others. And that's, 6 hours of doing that is not Carlos's style.
Yeah, if you're going to do that long of a game, there's got to be some interaction.
TI4. Mitchell says...
We got a 7-player TI4 scheduled for Saturday evening.
Nice. My man. I did 8 players, 15 hours on stream. 15 hours. And it was amazing. Came in second place. Mitchell Prudham says, not Fury of Dracula. They'll never play games again. Okay, I own it, but I haven't played it.
I played it a few times.
Why would he say they'll never play it again?
I know that it's a game that people either love or hate, I think. I think if you're a really good player as Dracula, you can probably take out the other players pretty well. But like that's where I'll play Dracula, but I will pull my punches a little bit to make sure people...
No, that's the role player in you. That's the DM in you.
That's the GM in me, yes. But I think there's some strategies that you can kind of play that even as the other people too. Like I've even had where I've played Dracula and the people I'm playing against, they starved me of cards because there's things you can do that gives Dracula more cards, and they would not do that action ever the whole game and just starved me.
Oh wow, they figured it out.
Yeah.
Frenchy, have you played?
I have not. No.
Okay, so I was curious to see why Mitchell would say that.
I don't know.
Ron Fraser said,
"Isn't there a couple of different versions? So maybe it was
editions."
Yeah, the version. Yeah, I have the not the most recent edition, but the edition before that. Which
was there any
same.
big changes?
There's no
though?
changes between like 3rd and 4th editions.
Because I think it just changed publishers, right?
Correct, yeah,
like that's the big thing. It's kind of jumping from publisher to publisher.
Same exact game, basically. Yeah, and I think that's the best edition.
Which one?
The most recent, that 3rd, 4th edition, I think, or 2nd or 3rd.
I think FFG had it for a little while too.
Yep.
Ron Fraser says, Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. I think that's his answer for where to take him next.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, I would say that is Mansions of Madness light. We played the whole campaign. We actually played it in Atlanta. Speaking of Ron Fraser, in Atlanta at the hotel lobby because of apparently the CMON Cool Mini or Not Expo shuts down at 9 o'clock. What kind of place shuts down at 9 o'clock?
That's not very cool.
They kicked us out. We were like I had my Bose speaker on, big old Bose speaker, Bluetooth, playing all the music and reading the sounds to us while we're playing Lord of the Rings, Journeys to Middle Earth. Maybe that's why they kicked us out.
Probably.
Okay. Yeah. So then we went to the lobby of the hotel to finish it.
We don't shut down at 9, but tonight we're going to, right?
You don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. That's a good game. I like that one. It wasn't my favorite because I'm not a fan of decks. I like dice. I'm not a fan of decks. I like dice. Christian Adventure Gamer says Death May Die. That's that Cthulhu one. Is that the
That was
the Risk-looking Cthulhu one?
big, huge Kickstarter.
Yeah, with the big models and looks like Risk World. It's a beautiful game. And the last comment here is Mitchell says, Death May Die will scare them off due to its difficulty. Laugh out loud. I've never played it. I thought it was a light-ish rule set similar to like a Risk.
Yeah, when you get to those huge Kickstarters, I kind of like...
You glaze over.
Glaze over. It becomes the Peanuts. I don't know what it is.
Any familiarity from Frenchy on Death May Die?
Nope, none
Okay.
whatsoever. Yep.
My man, I think we're in the same world. Like I just seen the pictures of it. You know, I'm not a huge
It is,
Kickstarter
right? It's a
guy. I don't know about
beautiful
you. French, are you a big Kickstarter guy? Is that like one of the things that drives you?
I'm trying to make that past tense and not be addictive. So I only check Kickstarter every other day now and not every day.
Yeah, same boat.
I won't even tell you how many games I have back right now. I think it's up to 70. So it's, I got quite the queue.
Got me beat by a few there.
I think I'm at
at
3.
I'm 50 something, I think, but yeah, it just when you see pictures, I've seen pictures of Death May. I think it's Death May Die, where people the boxes are like taller than they are, and that's where I'm like, man, that's just like I'm not playing any other game but that for the next 2 years, and that's just
It's not how I live my life.
how I live,
The
yeah.
ADD in me can't do that.
I like to play different games. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to try different things all the time.
Yep.
Well, Frenchie, that gets us through our phone calls. That gets us through the comments of the show. Let the folks at home know how they can see and hear more about what you got going on.
Yeah, so Frenchy Plays Games YouTube channel, and then Instagram, Frenchy Plays Games, and then on Facebook, there's Frenchy Plays Games site as well, and then Francois LaRue on my Facebook page.
Awesome. Now, folks, check him out. I mean, Frenchy was just has been nothing but kind to the show. I've been seeing what he's been posting. He and I are much in line. If you feel you're much in line with what we do here, I think Frenchy will give you some more of what we got going on here, which is just that conversation about that gaming space that I really enjoy.
I'm excited. I like the podcast versus video as well because I do both. Like I'm driving to work. I work on the other side of the bay, so podcasts on as I'm driving. Get there, watch YouTube. So it's kind of like it's good to have kind of both options.
Yep.
Well, thank you
Good
for
stuff.
joining us.
Get those top 10 lists too. So
I gotta try. We've never done one. It's been over a year we've been doing this, and we've never done a top 10 list.
Not officially a board game content curator
Until we do a top 10?
list. Yes, I don't know.
Top 10 reasons to not do a top 10 list. Number 1, commitment. It means you're stuck with that list, and people are gonna call you on it when you change it. I just don't need that negative energy in my life. Well, Frenchy, I guess it's to the end of the show. You stuck around the whole time. We really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll let you know when we get permissions to get out to the West and do like a Dice Tower West and join up. Hopefully we'll see you make your way back to the East. I know they took away our retreat, our November retreat, which makes it harder for us both.
Yep.
But thanks again for communicating.
Absolutely. Planning to be out on Dice Tower East in July, so hopefully see you guys and Wayne pop in for a few minutes.
Time for some Captain Sonar.
Yeah, I'm there for that.
All right. On behalf of the Beans and Dice crew who are missing, William and Rob, we want to thank Frenchy for joining us. We want to thank Wayne for stepping in their place. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Wayne.
And I'm Frenchy.
And we are the Beans and Dice podcast, folks. Have a good night. We will catch you next week. Every Thursday night, we do this. Tell your friends. Call in 9 p.m. Eastern. Talk to us about what you've been doing. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Frenchy. Catch you later,
Good night,
man.
guys.